it's huge. And look, I've been talking about this for a long time. Everybody was applying, and the Winklevoss twins and Van Eck and my friends at a bunch of different firms, were trying to get an ETF approved. And I said, zero chance, like no chance any one of those was going to get approved. People said, well, why? I said, because BlackRock is the only one that's ever going to get approved. And people said, they haven't even applied yet. Like, they will, and they'll get approved. And people said, well, why do you think that?
Hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Mark Yusko discuss about Bitcoin and BlackRock ETF approval. According to Mark Yusko, he discussed this time period since the inception of Bitcoin from 09 to 15. The initial 6 years were characterized by a day one ignore you mentality, during which a group of nerds and geeks experimented with magical internet money and questioned why anyone would care. Subsequently, they ridiculed you. That period lasted from 16 to 21. There are a significant number of nerds and geeks involved, with potentially a few billion here and there in the near future. Real money will be available from 2022 to the present. And Mark Yusko believed that until 2027 or so, regardless of the exact figure, they will fight you. This is a massive, concerted, intentional effort. Contrary to what some may say, it is not a mere coincidence that we are receiving these announcements at this time. It is not a coincidence. You know the fintech, the term TradFi is the one Mark Yusko looking for in Austin. Mark Yusko apologized for the disruption, but a major TradFi company has stated, yes, BlackRock, we want to do this ETF for cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin. And lots of things Mark Yusko discussed, so please watch the video to end. And like, share, subscribe our channel Everyday Finance. Thanks.
I've talked about this period of time since the launch of Bitcoin. 09 to 15, kind of that first 6 years was the first they ignore you phase. It's like, a bunch of nerds and geeks playing with their magic internet money. Who cares? Then they laugh at you, right? So that was 16 to 21. Kind of, haha, bunch of nerds and geeks. Yeah, a couple billion here, billion there. Pretty soon you're talking real money. 2022 to now, and I think unfortunately until 2027-ish, whatever the number is the then they fight you phase. And look, this is a massive, concerted, intentional effort, right? And people say, oh no, it's just coincidences. No, they're not coincidences. It's not a coincidence that we're getting these announcements now with the big, BTC, I mean, not BTC, the big fintech. TradFi is the word I'm searching for, Austin, sorry. Big TradFi company saying, oh yeah, we want to do this. BlackRock, we want to do an ETF for crypto or for Bitcoin. Really? I mean, think about this. Not a month ago. I mean, it's not even like a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. Not a month ago. The SEC was like, you're a villain if you're even touching this space. You're bad. Now, everybody. I mean, Deutsche Bank this morning and Fidelity over the weekend and BlackRock last week. And, everybody's jumping in the pool. Now, why? Why is that? I will argue that this started a handful of years ago when, they appointed the guy in charge, right? He was teaching a blockchain class at MIT. And now he's, the enforcer. Hey, that's weird. And you had, basically all these incumbents vilified and in many cases now sued. So yeah, it's a long rambling way of saying, yeah, I think choke point is real. I think it's been going on for a while. I think Sam and FTX were the useful idiots that were concocted to create this illusion of, all the bad people and all the bad stuff is happening. I used to laugh. You hear people like Ms. Warren and others say, oh, crypto is only used for money laundering and terrorism. I was like, right. The biggest terrorism tool in the world is the US dollar, full stop, right? It's not close. But what I didn't realize was they had inside information. They were actually doing the money laundering with crypto through FTX. So there's a whole bunch of stuff there that, we don't even have to dive into, that bad people doing bad stuff.
According to Mark Yusko Bitcoin, ETF approval is of the utmost importance. And Mark Yusko been discussing this for quite some time. Everyone was applying, including the Wink of US Twins and Vanek, as well as my friends at a bunch of different firms. We're attempting to get an ETF approved. And Mark Yusko said there was no way any of those would get approved. People replied, why? BlackRock is the only one that will ever get approved. Not even they haven't tried. The trust business has enjoyed a prosperous 8 centuries under the tent appearance. That's 8 centuries of common people placing their trust in it is a staggering figure that $7 trillion are spent annually on banking assurance, auditing brokerage services worldwide in order to protect our money. The entire financial services industry of trusts, generally speaking, $7 trillion are lost annually. And the truth technology that is transitioning from trust to truth with blockchains can eliminate the majority, if not all, of that. They don't like that because that's revenue for a very powerful few who make the laws. It's the golden rule. He who possesses the gold makes the rules. Consequently, those under the age of 10 will do everything possible to eliminate that amount. Let's back to the interview.
It's huge. And look, I've been talking about this for a long time. Everybody was applying, and the Winklevoss twins and Van Eck and my friends at a bunch of different firms, were trying to get an ETF approved. And I said, zero chance, like no chance any one of those was going to get approved. People said, well, why? I said, because BlackRock is the only one that's ever going to get approved. And people said, they haven't even applied yet. Like, they will. And they'll get approved. And so, well, why do you think that? Like, well, because they're part of the tent, right? You're either under the tent or you're outside the tent. And all of us who are trying to disrupt those under the tent, look, the trust business has had a great 800 years. That's a long run. 800 years of us, the plebs, trusting the banksters to safeguard our money. And we pay, this is a crazy stat, we pay globally $7 trillion with a T every year for banking, assurance, auditing, brokerage, all the trust industry, financial services, broadly speaking, $7 trillion every year. And the truth technology, right? We're going from trust to truth with blockchains, can get rid of most of that, if not all of it. They don't like that, right? Because that's somebody's revenue. And those people are really powerful. They make the laws. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. So those under the tent are going to do everything they can to keep those outside the tent from getting inside. And if that means changing the rules so that they get to control it. Now, I actually got an interesting debate this morning with one of my partners, which is kind of interesting because I would consider him pretty far out there on the decentralization spectrum. And he's like, there's no decentralization anymore. It's gone. They've got control of all the on-ramps, the off-ramps. They can put you in jail, like, Andrew Tate, he was citing Andrew Tate. I'm like, well, look, you go to Romania, all bets are off. It's like that movie about the guy who was smuggling hashish in Turkey, right? You go into a foreign country and break some laws, you might get in trouble. But I don't think just for transacting in Bitcoin, you go to jail in the United States, at least yet. But they could pass that law too. So he was really down. And I was like, wow, I'd never seen that before. And I'm still of the belief that we can win. In fact, I believe we have won, right? If you're in this space, if you're pursuing this technology, the fourth part of the quote, right? After then they fight you is then you win, from Mandela, although Mandela didn't say it, somebody else said it for him. But I can never remember that guy's name either, which is sad because I should give him credit. But we should look that up and put it in the show notes. But
let's do it.
I do feel like it is a huge deal, and I think it sets the stage for a pretty meaningful bull market, which, look, I declared crypto summer started on June 15th, and I said that months ago, and it's funny, people, well, why? I'm like, well, it's just the seasonality of how it works. It's a 4-year cycle, and you break it into 4 pieces, and June 15th was when we went from from winter to spring a year ago. And so June 15th was going to be the equinox this year. Now, I had no idea that was going to be the day of the BlackRock announcement. And it's literally the bottom. Like, it's been up only since last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day that was. That's weird, right? I mean, that's an odd thing. But it's fully expected when big institutions, big organizations, wealthy investors have been doing this for years. I tweeted this out earlier today. It's the oldest trick in the book, right? If you want to buy a lot of something, what do? You shit on it, right? When George Soros wanted to corner the market in copper, right? What did he do? He didn't go out and buy a bunch of copper. He went out and sold a bunch of copper and spread rumors that copper was going to zero. Then you swoop in and buy a whole bunch after the price collapses. And big institutions been doing that. Elon does that all the time and all kinds of stuff. That's how big operators operate. Is you don't go buy it and then tell everybody you bought it and everybody clap and watch it go up. You want to buy it cheaper. So that's what I think went on last year. Look, it's, again, not a coincidence. The day of the peak in 2021 was the day they allowed the Bitcoin futures ETF to happen. I mean, it's the day. Well, why does that matter? Well, because the banks and people like BlackRock could go naked short. You could create paper negative Bitcoin. You could go short Bitcoin. And that pushed the price down and got all the weak hands to fold, all the leverage out of the system. Then they sacrificed FTX to make it appear that, bad people doing bad things, even though there's not much going on there. I mean, it's kind of like FTX to me reminds me of Madoff, right? They called Madoff a hedge fund problem. But there was no hedge and there was no fund. I mean, he hadn't made a trade in 13 years, so there was no hedging going on. And he was literally, his brother-in-law was taking the money and putting it in Bernie's account. There was no fund. It was just a bad person doing bad stuff. And that's the same thing. So, Alameda was this big trading firm. No, they weren't. Look at the data. They were not big. They were not sophisticated. They were not good. They lost their ass in Luna, which precipitated this whole thing. So I think it was part of the whole wrapping it all back to choke point. I think it was all part of the kabuki theater to make people afraid, just like the Silicon Valley bank run was part of the kabuki theater to make people afraid of banks. Well, why would you want to make people afraid of banks? Well, because they're going to give you a solution coming up pretty soon called the CBDC. And if people think that's a solution, you're just not paying attention, right? You should be very, very, very afraid of CBDCs.